When a music critic stormed onto Michael Jackson's stage at Madison Square Garden and launched into a vicious personal attack, 20,000 fans held their breath, expecting security to drag him away. Instead, what Michael did next left the entire arena in stunned silence and changed that critic's life forever. But what could the king of pop have possibly said that transformed pure hatred into a moment so powerful that people still talk about it decades later? The thunderous roar of countless voices echoes through Madison Square Garden like a living, breathing entity that has taken residence in the concrete and steel structure. Darkness swallows the arena whole, leaving only the faint glow of exit signs and the restless energy of anticipation crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. Cell phones don't exist yet in this moment of 1988, so the crowd creates its own light show, with flickering lighters held high, tiny flames dancing like fireflies in the void, each one representing a soul waiting to be transported. The opening synthesizer notes of Billie Jean pierce the silence with surgical precision, and the crowd explodes into a frenzy that seems to shake the very foundations of the building. A single spotlight cuts through the darkness like a sword forged from pure light, revealing the unmistakable silhouette that has captivated the world and redefined what it means to be an entertainer. Sequined glove catches the light as Michael Jackson glides across the stage with that otherworldly grace that seems to defy the laws of physics. His body moving as if controlled by some divine choreographer, the bass line pounds through the arena's massive sound system, vibrating through the concrete floor and into the bones of each person present, creating a shared heartbeat that connects strangers in the darkness. His feet barely touch the ground as he spins, each movement precise yet effortless, each step calculated yet appearing completely spontaneous, as if he's channeling music itself through his physical form. The crowd responds to each gesture, his vocal inflections, all subtle changes in his expression with the devotion usually reserved for religious experiences. Security guards stand at rigid attention around the stage perimeter, their eyes scanning the crowd with practiced vigilance born from years of protecting the most famous entertainer on the planet. The barriers separating the stage from the general admission floor seem solid, impenetrable, a necessary fortress, protecting someone who has transcended mere celebrity to become a global phenomenon. These men have seen everything, handled every conceivable threat, and their confidence radiates outward like an invisible shield. Michael's voice soars above the music, crystal clear and hauntingly beautiful, carrying emotional weight that seems impossible for human vocal cords to produce. His trademark vocal hiccups and passionate delivery send shivers through the audience, each note perfectly placed to maximize its emotional impact. Every person in that arena knows they're witnessing a performance extraordinary, a once-in-a-lifetime performance by someone who has transformed popular music into high art. But an unsettling shift occurs in the atmosphere, subtle as a change in barometric pressure before a storm. Michael's usual fluid movements pause for just a fraction of a second, barely noticeable to the casual observer, but significant to anyone who knows his performances by heart. His head turns slightly towards stage left, where a commotion is beginning to build near the security barrier, like a disturbance in otherwise calm water. Two security guards are suddenly in motion, their casual stance replaced by alert tension that speaks of years of training kicking into high gear. They're moving toward a figure, or someone, who shouldn't be there, their professional instincts screaming that the carefully controlled environment is about to be shattered. The spotlight continues to follow Michael as he dances, but his peripheral vision has caught the approaching disruption, and there's a flicker in his eyes that suggests he knows trouble unexpected is about to unfold in front of 20,000 witnesses. Behind the dazzling smile and flawless choreography that have made him the most recognizable face on earth, Michael Jackson carries the weight of a world that simultaneously worships and scrutinizes his every breath, with an intensity that would crush most human spirits. The Bad World Tour has been a triumph beyond imagination, breaking attendance records in every city and generating hysteria wherever he goes. But success at this magnitude comes with a price that few can truly comprehend or survive with their sanity intact. Each morning brings fresh tabloid headlines, dissecting his appearance, his relationships, his very humanity, as if fame has somehow stripped away his right to exist as anything more than public property to be consumed and criticized. The relentless touring schedule has pushed his body to its absolute limits, night after night, of high-energy performances that demand nothing less than perfection from someone who has already given everything he has to give. Each show requires him to reach deeper into reserves of energy and emotion that are constantly being depleted without adequate time for restoration. His voice, that miraculous instrument that has captivated millions and redefined what popular music can achieve, is strained from months of giving everything he possesses to audiences who expect nothing less than transcendent magic every single night. Sleep comes in fragments between cities, between sound checks, between the endless obligations that fill all waking moments, and leave no space for the simple human need to rest and recover. The physical exhaustion is crushing, but the emotional toll is even more devastating. In quiet moments backstage, when the roar of the crowd fades to a distant hum and he's temporarily alone with his thoughts, Michael often finds himself staring into mirrors that reflect back a face the world thinks it knows completely. The tabloids have dissected each feature with surgical precision, speculated about all changes, turned his very appearance into a source of endless controversy and increasingly cruel jokes that cut deeper than any physical wound. Late-night comedians build entire routines around his looks, his voice, his mannerisms, reducing a complex human being with hopes, dreams, and profound artistic vision to a collection of punchlines and caricatures. Yet beneath the armor of sequins and leather, behind the carefully constructed public persona that has taken decades to perfect, lives a man who still feels each slight, all mockery, moments of rejection with the raw sensitivity of the shy child he once was in Gary, Indiana. The Jackson 5 days seemed like a lifetime ago, when music was pure joy, and performance was simply about sharing that joy with others who appreciated the gift. Now each song carries the burden of impossible expectation. His gestures are analyzed for hidden meaning. All public appearances become a tightrope walk between maintaining his mystique and revealing enough humanity to remain relatable. The pressure to be perfect is suffocating, a constant weight that makes normal breathing feel like a luxury. One wrong step, one moment of vulnerability, caught by the ever-present cameras that follow his movements, and the carefully maintained image could crumble like a house of cards. His team surrounds him with protection, creating multiple barriers between Michael and a world that seems determined to consume him completely. But those same barriers that keep the chaos out also keep genuine human connection at bay, leaving him isolated in a glittering bubble of fame that looks beautiful from the outside, but feels increasingly hollow from within. Tonight, as he performs under the scorching stage lights that feel like the surface of the sun, Michael pours all of his loneliness, his frustration, his desperate need to be understood and accepted as more than just an entertainer into each note he sings. The figure breaks through the final security barrier with surprising agility, and suddenly, the controlled chaos of a Michael Jackson concert transforms into chaos entirely different. The man is tall, middle-aged, wearing a wrinkled press credential that swings wildly as he moves with determined aggression toward the stage. His face is flushed with a mixture of anger and self-righteousness that makes the nearby security guards hesitate for just a moment too long. "You're a fraud." His voice cuts through the music like a knife, amplified by the arena's acoustics and his own theatrical training as a longtime music critic for a major newspaper. Nothing but smoke and mirrors, hiding behind costume changes and special effects. The words hang in the air, Poisoned darts aimed directly at the heart of all Michael has built his career upon. The bass line of Billie Jean continues pounding through the speakers, but Michael's voice falters mid-verse. 20,000 people sense the shift instantly. That electric moment when live performance becomes unpredictable reality. The crowd's energy shifts from celebration to confusion to growing tension as they realize everything is terribly wrong with their perfect evening. Two security guards finally reach the critic, flanking him as protocol demands, but they don't immediately remove him. A subtle shift in Michael's posture, a quiet gesture with his hand, keeps them at bay. The spotlight that has been following Michael's every movement now illuminates all three figures on the stage, creating a tableau that feels both surreal and inevitable. "Look at yourself," the critic continues, emboldened by the lack of immediate ejection. His voice carries the authority of someone who has spent decades analyzing and dismissing musical acts, someone who believes his opinion carries the weight of objective truth. Hiding behind makeup and costumes because you can't face what you really are, underneath all the pretense. The words strike deeper than any physical blow could. This isn't just professional criticism. It's personal attack disguised as artistic analysis. The critic's voice drips with the kind of contempt that transforms legitimate artistic discourse into cruel character assassination. Every insecurity Michael has ever felt about his appearance, his authenticity, his right to exist as both performer and human being, is suddenly laid bare under the merciless arena lights. His usual fluid grace abandons him completely. For the first time in decades of professional performance, he stands perfectly still, his sequined glove hanging motionless at his side. The mask of superstar confidence that he wears as naturally as breathing begins to slip, revealing pain raw and vulnerable underneath. His eyes, usually sparkling with performance energy, now reflect genuine hurt and confusion. The venue falls into an eerie silence. Even the music seems to fade into the background as 20,000 people hold their collective breath, sensing they are witnessing a scene unprecedented. This isn't part of the show, isn't choreographed entertainment, but real human drama unfolding in real time. The critic stands triumphant in his moment of public humiliation. The security guards await their instructions, and Michael Jackson, the king of pop, stands frozen between his public persona and his private pain, faced with a choice that will define not just this moment, but how it will be remembered forever. The silence stretches for what feels like eternity. 20,000 people suspended in a moment that could shatter in any direction. Michael's chest rises and falls with controlled breathing, the same technique he learned years ago to manage stage fright before it became unnecessary, before performing became as natural as breathing. But this isn't performance anxiety. This is fear far more profound and dangerous. Then an extraordinary moment unfolds. The hurt in Michael's eyes doesn't harden into anger or dissolve into tears. Instead, it transforms into understanding deeper, more complex. Recognition, perhaps, or clarity. He sees pain in this angry critic that others cannot see, a vulnerability beyond the harsh words and public humiliation. Maybe it's the desperation underlying the aggression, the way damaged people sometimes lash out at what they cannot understand or achieve themselves. Michael takes a step forward, not away from the confrontation, but toward it. His movement is deliberate, gentle, carrying none of his usual performance flourishes. This is not the moonwalking entertainer the world knows, but someone more fundamental, more human. The sequined glove comes up slowly, not in his signature pose, but extended in a gesture of invitation. "Brother," he says, and his voice carries clearly throughout the venue, without amplification, somehow reaching each corner through sheer, authentic emotion. "We're all just trying to find our way in this world." The words are simple, but they land with the weight of absolute truth. There's no anger in his voice, no wounded pride, just a recognition of shared human struggle that transforms everything. The critic's aggressive posture begins to crumble. Up close, face to face with the man he's been attacking, He sees not the artificial construct of his imagination, but a human being responding to cruelty with compassion. The righteous anger that brought him onto the stage starts to look foolish, small, mean-spirited in the face of such grace. Music should bring us together, not tear us apart, Michael continues, his hand still extended in invitation. We're all carrying pain, aren't we? We're all hurt by life. His words aren't just directed at the critic, but seem to encompass everyone in that vast space. Acknowledgement that pain is universal, that the human experience binds us all, regardless of fame or fortune, or the masks we wear to survive. The critic's face undergoes a visible transformation. The anger dissolves into what looks like shame, then wonder, then a kind of broken understanding. He looks at Michael's extended hand for a long moment before slowly, almost reverently, reaching out to take it. The gesture is awkward, unpracticed, but genuine in a way that cuts through years of cynicism and professional detachment. Madison Square Garden doesn't erupt in cheers. Instead, a more powerful moment unfolds, a collective exhale, a shared recognition that they have witnessed a moment sacred. 20,000 people have just watched hatred transform into understanding, watched a superstar reveal himself to be profoundly, beautifully human. Years later, people will still talk about this moment, not as the night Michael Jackson's concert was interrupted, but as the night they learned a truth essential about grace, forgiveness, and the courage it takes to respond to darkness with light. The critic never writes another cruel review, and Michael never speaks publicly about the incident, but the ripple effects continue spreading outward, touching lives in ways impossible to measure or count.